Pranams to all of you. This video is a continuation of the previous video. On that one question, we have started asking how to know oneself. How do I know myself? What are the ways to know myself? So we were discussing that. In the previous video, we went into two of those, or rather three of those points. What's the first one? Anugraha. Without grace, this does not work. Even the very thought of knowing yourself doesn't come. So Anugraha, Shravanam, listening, keen listening, intent listening. Shravanam, Darshanam, to see things and people and everything as they are. So this is what we discussed in the previous video, and in this video we will continue with some more of those points. So what's the next one? How to know oneself, how to know myself? Aham Bodham. What is Aham Bodham? Self-awareness. Awareness of all that is going on within yourself and without yourself. Right? In fact, there are various levels to this self-awareness. You become aware of the world of the objects and the natural world, the world of man-made societies, all that. You become aware of the world, and from there the movement begins within. Then you become aware of your own self, your own body, your own feelings, sensations, thoughts, your conditionings, how memory and conditioning play a great part in observation and listening, how they actually block clear perception. So like that, awareness of the outer world, awareness of your body, awareness of your sensations, feelings, awareness of your thoughts, awareness that your mind is conditioned, all this is part of awareness. Right? So, Aham Bodham, studying about yourself, watching yourself. As you eat, as you walk, as you talk, as you do so many things, is it possible for us to be aware, inwardly, background awareness, as if you're witnessing those things? Like a cinema, you're watching a movie, you're watching a cinema, and you're simply watching because there is interest. Similarly, can I, as a human being, watch myself and all my conditionings and all my belief systems and all my feelings and thoughts, everything, without judging, without coming to a conclusion, without condemnation, without telling that I am good, I am bad, I should not do this, I should not have done it that way? No commentary, no running commentary. Just watch clearly what's going on, how a thought arises, how a desire arises. So this is another step. Aham Bodham, self-awareness. What's the next one? Satsang. What is satsang? Sangha means association. Sat, good. The company of the good, the association of the good. Right? It could be through people, good people. It could be through books. It could be through music. Oh yes, it could be through nature. Definitely. Right? Good ambience, good surrounding. You can even be alone. That is also satsang. Satsang with yourself. So what is satsang? Good association. You have to seek it. Once the desire to know yourself begins, the desire to discover yourself begins, all this will follow. Satsang will happen on its own. Right? So satsang, very important. The best satsang is with a rishi, with a sage, with a yogi, with an awakened being, with an avatar, with a realized being. Actually speaking, that is satsanga. Next to that is nature. So be with nature. Seek out awakened beings, realized beings. Go find out where all they are and seek them out. Meet them. Take their blessings. Read about them. Read about their lives, their teachings. All the rishis and sages and yogis and masters of the world. Know about them. This is satsang. Listening to good music, satsang. Having a beautiful conversation on the higher aspects of life to your friend, satsang. So satsang really takes you in. So that is another part. What's the next one? Swadhyaya. What is Swadhyaya? What is Adhyaya? To study. Swa, self. There are two meanings. Self-study. To study about yourself. That's one meaning. The other one is whatever you're interested in, let that inspiration come from yourself. Of course, you must be inspired by many other people and everything. But let that onus, let that, the initiation come from you. That is Swadhyaya, self-study. You yourself are the triggering point to yourself. That is Swadhyaya. So in this journey of self-discovery, this is very, very important. You have to, there are a lot of people who will help you, but you have to begin. If you are, there is a lovely statement in Indian culture and all great indigenous cultures, when the student is ready, the master comes. It's always like that. Only when the student is ready, the master appears. Appears to whom? To the student. Right? And great people add one more line. When the student is really ready, the master disappears. Because the work of the master is over. What is the work of the master? To wake you up from your sleep, your slumber. We have been sleeping for lives. So what does the Guru do? Shake you up, wake you up, and go away. His job is over. So Swadhyaya, when the student is ready, the master will appear, has to appear. And all the gurus and teachers and yogis and rishis of the world are simply waiting for people to wake up. Because they have so much to give, so much to tell them about themselves. So Swadhyaya. What's the next one? Yoga. Yoga is not merely performing physical postures, asanas, contortions. Most of those asanas that you find in a popular yoga book are physical contortions. Circus people can do much better. Simply bending your body, twisting your body, curving your body, and taking the body to various positions. That's not really yoga. The Western people have a craze to perfect that, physical postures. Look at the gymnasts. They can bend and twist their body to such a great extent in comparison what the people who practice yogasanas do. Nothing. So that is not yoga. Part of yoga, maybe the very, very, very small part of yoga. Yeah, what does asanas and pranayama and kriyas and bandhas do? Helps your body to remain healthy, free from disease, free from discomfort. Of course, as long as you have a body, you will have some sort of disease or the other. Ramana Bhagavan, again I am quoting Ramana Bhagavan, he always says, body itself is a disease. So if another disease comes to the body, it is a disease of the disease. Ramana Bhagavan. So, relatively healthy. So, what does asanas and physical practices of yoga do? Keep your body, keep your feeling, sensations, mind, everything relatively healthy, calm, quiet, so that this will help you in the journey of self-discovery. This is real yoga. Real yoga is knowing yourself, understanding yourself, eventually realizing who you really are. That is yoga. But in the name of yoga, all the other small things, asanas and pranayam, all that, of course, one must do, one should do. They are a great help for your body. So that is also part of yoga. But the real yoga is knowing yourself, understanding yourself. So yoga. What's the next one? Dhyanam. What is dhyanam? Dhyanam is not a practice. I've been telling often in many videos, dhyana is not a practice that you can do, that anybody can do. Meditation is not a practice. Meditation, dhyanam, that's the right word. What is the actual translation for the word dhyanam? There is no translation. Bodhidharma, Buddha's great disciple, took this word dhyanam when he went to China. He could not translate. So in Chinese, even today, dhyanam is called Chan. That word further traveled to Japan, and there it became Zen in their own language. And when the English people, the Westerners, took it up, the English people, if you look at any good dictionary, meditation, what's the meaning? Indulgence in thinking, to deeply think. Absurd. That's a wrong meaning. Meditation is not thinking about something deeply. It is not indulging in thought. Right? Meditation, dhyanam, is beyond thinking. Dhyanam is self-awareness. Dhyanam is awareness itself. It is not a doing, it is being. So that way, when you sit quietly, really quietly, your body becomes calm, quiet, is at rest, your emotions and feelings have subsided, your thinking process, the very movement of thinking is slowing down, and you're not falling asleep. There is a state of quietness, there is a state of stillness. And that progresses deeper and deeper and deeper. That state of absolute silence, stillness, where there is no me, mine, there is no thought, there is no thinking process. That state of being is what is called dhyanam. Yeah, of course, there are a lot of people who are teaching techniques of meditation. Yeah, but that is not actually meditation. Concentration practices. When will you attain concentration? When you're really interested, not before. Right? You can't practice concentration like you practice swimming, much less dhyanam. So dhyanam is an inward state, is your real state, your real essence of who you really are. But somewhere one has to begin. Normal people like us, where do you begin? Of course, with your body. Keeping the body quiet, relaxed, relatively healthy. For all that, yoga, asanas and pranayamas are a great help. No doubt about that. But then it has a limit. So when the body and mind is quiet, dhyanam comes. Dhyanam happens. It could happen when you're traveling in a bus. It could happen when you're sitting and watching a sunset. It could happen when you're talking to your friend. It could happen when you're listening to a good, lovely music, like Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, for example. So, Dhyanam is your state of being. Great help in discovering yourself. We are coming closer and closer to the higher things. What's the next one? Nishkamya karma. What is Nishkamya karma? What is karma? Action. All your activities. Action. Kamya karma. Actions with lot of desire. Lot of expectations. What is Nishkamya karma? Actions which are done without any expectation of the result to be like this, to be like that, whatever. I mean, is that possible? Suppose you ask students to write their exam and don't expect anything. That's not possible. Right? Nishkamya karma does not mean you do your action and don't expect the result. No, that is not the meaning. Nishkamya karma means do your very best, whether it is polishing your shoes, writing an exam, or doing something else, taking a decision in your life. Whatever you do, do your best. But then, whatever results come out of that, take it as prasadam. That's the meaning of the word Nishkamya karma. Do your best. What comes to you is not in your hands, anybody's hands. So whatever comes, take it as prasadam. That is called Nishkamya karma. What's the next one? Prakriti. Nature. Wonderful. Nature, really speaking, nature is the only teacher. You know, when you're with nature, when you're in nature, when you know what it means to love nature, looking at the trees, looking at a night sky, clear, cloudless night sky, watching people, not staring at them, observing, watching everything. Everything is part of nature. Everything in our own body is part of nature, is nature itself. So observing your own body, its activities, its movements, all this is nature. So nature is the wonderful teacher, the only teacher that is there. So nature helps you tremendously to know yourself, to go deeper into yourself, to discover who you are. Eventually, gradually. So there are all these are different steps towards yourself. How to know oneself? These are all the steps. There could be many more. Discover as you begin this journey, as you go along in this journey, you will discover more and more ways. People will just happen to you in your life who will help you. Books will come, music will come, situations will come. Everything will be around you to facilitate your journey towards yourself. So, as we told you in another video, if I remember, how to know oneself, how to know yourself, how to realize yourself, even starting intellectually, good enough, that's where we all start. Very much part of the real education, right? In one of the earlier videos, I had spoken about education, right? What is real education? There are two types: education to make a living, education for life. All that we spoke about today here in this video is education for life. And without education for life, which means knowing yourself, understanding yourself, realizing yourself, education to make a living is very limited, useless, in fact, dangerous. Dangerous. Without knowing yourself and understanding yourself, suppose you have all the powers of the world. Can you imagine how dangerous, what a dangerous person you are? You could be, right? You have to develop your own body, your personality, all that. That is one aspect. But you have to grow up as a human being. You know, someone once said, growing old is mandatory, inevitable, but growing up is optional. It depends on you. What are you looking for in life? What do you want? What do you really want? Right? So, this journey is growing up, the real growing up. This is real education. I really wish all the schools and colleges and universities seriously take up this aspect of education, the real aspect of education, which is education for life. Every school, every educational institution should have this as the center point. We have to get back what happened in the Gurukula system of education before the Britishers destroyed all that. We have to bring that. Who will bring that? People like us. So take this up seriously. Begin this journey of self-discovery. Know yourself, understand yourself, eventually realize yourself with all that we spoke about and many more. This is the only journey which does not require any traveling. This is our birthright, as I keep telling again and again. This is our birthright. It's there in our genes. One day or the other, all of us have to begin this journey. So why not begin today, right now? Right? Thank you. Pranams to all of you.